Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm really excited today because for once it's not my poor financial decisions, it's a client's, and I get to make money instead of losing money. Also behind me is my 1972 Corvette. I finally pulled it out of the garage after all these years. It's been sitting there for about 7 years untouched. I decided it was time to get it driving again. I know the flames look kind of chintzy, but they're from the 1970s. That's the paint job that somebody put on it way back when, and I'm gonna keep them. Supposedly we have an R32 Skyline coming in at 11 o'clock. We're gonna check that out as well. Clutch needs some love. Ideally, I would like to have this car on the back rack where my Corvette is for better filming for the channel. Unfortunately, we are a full production facility as far as automotive repairs go, and right now if you walk through my back lot, there's about 40 cars out there, and it is packed so tight it would take me an hour to move all those cars out just to get a shot. So we're gonna do it up front here. Don't mind the mess, don't mind the extra engines and the other cars that are up here. Doing an inspection on the car for this customer. Engine sounds fantastic. I don't like the way the clutch feels. That may just be me, but I'll look, see if there's any sort of adjustment. I don't think there is because it's hydraulic. But yeah, waiting for Steve to get here, we'll get it inspected. Customer imported this, flew to Japan, test drove it, inspected it, had it up on a lift, had them inspected in Japan. He's had it here for a little bit now, and he wants us to inspect it. I can tell you driving it in, it needs a clutch. This was an automatic, but converted to a manual. Not uncommon, I do that all the time. So, Steve, what do you see underneath it?
Underneath, I see typical rust when you have a car that's near a lot of ocean. Nothing that's too crazy, but it looks like the base of the car though looks good. That's the most important thing is the sound. It's getting suspension parts, the Skyline, not gonna be very difficult. It's a two-wheel drive, so that actually means that you'll have even fewer problems. A couple of suspension bushings, like some of the subframe bushings are definitely showing their age. Like certain small things like sway bar inlet bushings, things that you can easily either get or could be upgraded. So you don't have to get what's specific for this car.
Shock bushing too, right? Back here?
Yeah, I think he's gonna probably end up just replacing the whole thing in the back. Looks good, yeah. I'm curious to check the clutch position switch, because like when you do a manual transmission conversion on just about anything, you can do it a couple of different ways. Some of these switches on the transmission are gonna affect if you can see the reverse lights, if that's been wired up properly, because an automatic isn't gonna wire it the same way. And then there's a switch that will pretty much keep your ignition switch from fully starting the car if the clutch isn't pushed in. All of those things gotta be wired in additional. Those are safety mechanisms, good idea to do. The base of the car is all there so you can do it. But sometimes when you're just trying to get the tranny in, you'll leave the certain parts in, like the switch that would be on the side of the transmission, stuff like that. So we'll kind of go in and just see all of what they did and didn't do. But I mean, physically, it's all there. So like, it doesn't have to be swapped over. It just has to be kind of touched up and checked.
Looks like a slave cylinder might be leaking at the hose.
Yeah.
He might get lucky and just do a slave and bleed it out and not do a clutch.
Well, we could even, did he say it was slipping on him at all?
No. It's grinding going into gear. I had a hard time, it's stiff to go into some gears. I was having a hard time getting in reverse, and when I had the clutch almost all the way on the floor, I was still moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a leak at the slave, we'll start there, but those are pretty strong indicators of like a worn out clutch. I mean, other than that, underneath, typical, nothing to not be expected.
No oil leaks, and it looks pretty clean that way.
Yeah, I mean this is RV25 non-turbo Japanese import. You want to check a couple of things. That sticker on the firewall is really important because it determines how the vehicle was imported. A lot of times people try to stick 240 and other US domestic stickers on there, and they try to get the car and circumvent the order of getting it registered properly, and that can create some really weird insurance issues. So it's always good to have this bad boy right back here. We can see exactly that this is gonna be the one. Yeah, so we have this stuff here. We'll use that, and we can kind of look over here. I don't know if you can quite see it, but on the body here, you can see that same numbers there. So those two things match. That's really important. You want to make sure that when you get the car registered, it shows up as a Skyline, not as like a 240 or a 200 SX or a Maxima or something wild. Another thing that's important is maintenance. Maintenance is very, very important because most of the RV engines that I'm aware of are all interference engines. So you're going to want to make sure that your timing belt has been done. This is going to be a car that's going to be between 25 and 30 plus years old, depending on which ones you get. All that stuff matters regardless of the mileage on the cluster. Another thing that's important is to make sure that the cluster is a factory cluster.
You're on the wrong side of the car, sir.
Haha, that's what you think.
Oh.
That looks good. Okay. All right, that looks good. Really not uncommon for this to not be original. Like that's way more common than you think. But I don't think so. But this is like a driver's car. It's really desirable. And like, I mean, I like the R33 and the newer ones, and obviously I like the newest GTR. My brother had one, I've driven one, they're great. But like this is gonna be an iconic classic for a long time. So I really like this car. It looks like, you know, if he's been driving it for a while, he got a good one, you know? Obviously, you look under the hood, it's not turbo. That's a good and a bad thing. I mean, obviously the good thing is less expense, fewer parts to deal with. Obviously the negative on that is that you're obviously down on power, you don't have the all-wheel drive setup. But I mean, just as a driver's car, it looks great. I'm sure it feels great, and I'm sure the guy loves it. I love the color too. I think these look great in black. So I think I want to take a peek, just kind of pull back the timing cover, look at that. Yeah, I mean, it's not really too much for a non-turbo. I mean, you check for your usual vacuum leaks, smoking. This guy here can screw you over. It's just kind of like a way that manufacturers use to check timing. And basically it runs off of exhaust cam. We're talking electronic components that are 25 plus years old. When they start to fail, especially on these older systems, you just gotta kind of know either what to look for or how to test them, because you're not gonna hook a scanner up to this car and get a whole bunch of data. You're gonna get like blips and codes. But yeah, I like it. I like it. So far, so good. I mean, it looks good, I guess, you know, other than the clutch issue, some basic rust issue, maybe a couple of maintenance items, you know. Looks like he's doing pretty good. The bolt's off to check the timing belt, but what I noticed here, the water pump's leaking pretty good. We're not gonna take all of these different components off and then not do a timing belt. Like, that just wouldn't make sense. That's really all I kind of needed to see right there. Valve cover gasket, because this is leaking. If we're gonna take those off, you might as well put plugs in it. As far as the clutch, I mean, we could obviously bleed that.
Yeah, he seems to want to do it right, so I'm just putting a list together for him.
Yeah. My concern is, you know, obviously we do that, but we also want to check the manual transmission fluid. These cars can get beat on real hard.
All right, go ahead and pull it out for him.
take off for the weekend, I want to tell you guys about this Nissan Figaro. This is a very important build for us, or engine replacement. The customer who owns this car has stage 4 cancer. She doesn't have much time left. She bought this car for herself as a going away present, essentially. And unfortunately, it broke a timing belt on her and wiped out the valves. Thanks to Figaro Parts, we've got an engine coming, pro bono. They're sending it to us for free. It's being air freighted from DHL. We are giving her the labor for free. She doesn't know it. As soon as the engine shows up, we're dropping everything we're doing and we're fixing this car. Where I'm at in life is not lost on me, where I started from to where I'm at now. And so if I can give some of my time and shop's time to put some good energy back in the universe and help this lady's last days be happy so she can drive her car that she loves, then I'm all for that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as Antonio would say,
a win in Rome. And don't forget to donate anything you want. Time, parts.
Parts. We need parts.